So if I'm cleaning a tank in a sit-down ski, the stand-up ones are usually a lot easier to actually just pull the whole tank out. But on a sit-down ski, most of them you have to remove the engine. So you'd have to buy gaskets and stuff for the exhaust usually. So if I need to clean a tank, which is a really good idea to inspect a fuel tank. If you get a ski that's sat for a few years, or if you're going to the trouble to rebuild your carburetor, you don't want to rebuild your carburetor and have some junk that's been sitting in the tank clog up your carburetor rebuild. Now, a lot of the Kawasaki's, they do have on the pickups, they've got filters, they've got screens on there. It's a good idea to check these and make sure they're not, these pickup tubes, make sure they're not cracked. Clean them up. This one's in pretty good shape. You want a good soft gasket on here, make sure that it's sealing. All you have to do is remove 4 Phillips screws to pull this out. Now when it's up underneath inside the ski, you're probably going to have to clip these zip ties, pull the hoses off. From the factory, they're labeled. This is the return, this is reserve, this is on. It's also labeled on the pickups, and in this case there's an arrow for the return. This one is also a vent. There's a one-way vent to let air in. If this hose gets clogged up for some reason, you could have an issue with your carburetors not being able to overcome the pressure, because you need air to go in. As you're using up fuel, you need air to go in, but you don't want that gas fumes to come out and get in the hole, and if there's a spark, you can get an explosion. So it's a good idea to check these or replace them. I mean, these skis are 30 plus years old. It should be an arrow on there that shows the air goes into the tank as the fuel is being burned off. So it's a good idea to replace these with a one-way vent. So what I do is I'll siphon the fuel out, and then I'll fill it up with, I'll put some Dawn dish soap in there, fill it up with a garden hose, and then I'll use a shop vac. This attachment here will get most of it out, so I'll vacuum the water out, and I'll do that a couple of times until the water is coming out clean. Now you want to make sure you never use a shop vac to vacuum just the gas by itself. All it takes is one spark, and the shop vac motors aren't spark proof, so one spark in the gas fumes, and you could have an explosion. So definitely don't do that. If there's also an area that you can't get to with just this, you could kind of put a hose down in there and then just put the hose on here and just kind of cover it, so you're still getting some suction on the hose, and get the water out, let the water dry. But that's how I clean the tanks on the sit-down skis. There's just 4 Phillips head screws, and then you just pull this pickup out, and these ones have a fuel level sensor in there for some of them, for the sit downs that have a fuel gauge. So that's pretty much how the fuel tanks are on a sit down ski. It's also a good idea, this one just happens to have an oil cap, but make sure that you got a good rubber gasket on here. You don't want water getting into the ski, because of course this part's going to be on the outside of the hull. You don't want water getting in with your gas. So that's some things to do. If you get a ski that's new to you and you want to make sure that it's got good clean fuel, that's how I clean them out. I wouldn't pull an engine just to clean out a fuel tank.